Okay, awesome. So today I'm going to be talking about real-time construction visuals for pursuits, verification, and buy-in. So before I do that, just want to introduce myself. I'm Nick Hanna. I've been in the industry for about 7 years. I'm in the VDC department at a general contractor. Miron has been around for about 100 years, and yeah, we actually have a pretty large team. I'm kind of just taking it in right now, because looking at all the fields across here, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, we don't really have that big of a VDC department, but after talking to a few of you, it actually seems like we've grown quite a bit. So this number has actually doubled since the last 5 years, so it's actually pretty cool to see that growth. A little bit of history of Miron. I'll keep this short, but it's better off that I kind of tell you what we don't build rather than what we do build. We've been into several markets, but the thing that we don't build is roads, bridges, and residential. So you can kind of see a little portfolio of what we have, but let's get on to the meat and potatoes. So I want to talk about some pursuits that I've been working on and kind of just some high-level work that I've been doing. I'm more of a storyteller, so anytime I'm talking to people, I want to make sure that I'm relaying information that's relevant and important to what they need. Whenever you give more details than what's necessary, sometimes people get bogged down in those details, and they're asking the wrong questions. There was one time that I was in a meeting, we were talking logistics, and the person, like, we're in the middle of this heated discussion, and we're talking through crane logistics, and he's like, hey, the crane's the wrong color. And I'm like, is that what we're talking about right now? So I don't know if any of you had ran into that, but anyways, all that to be said is I want to tell the right information at the right time with the right crowd. So we did some pre-planning stuff here with our logistics, so we kind of did some simple layout, just really preliminary stuff. But the client had some very specific drivers. They were more concerned about what affected them in particular, and that is traffic. So this might not be anything groundbreaking for a lot of you. I've been seeing a ton of great presentations, really large scope, but I kind of wanted to reel it in and kind of tell some stories about that are like a little more smaller in scope and more focused. This type of a visual, it's very simple, but it honestly tells a ton of great things, or it gives the client something that they really need without bogging them down with the details of what they don't need to worry about. So just some ideas for you guys if you just need something else to apply cmBuilder to. So this next project is a medical center from Milwaukee. I was developing this interview process, and I was talking through our team, and we did a really great collaborative effort. I was able to use the cmBuilder to basically develop this live. So I set up the project a little bit ahead of time, but I was able to create these visuals and tweak them live as we're kind of prepping for the interview process. And I kind of did a no-no where I was able to do the interview process with the live model. So sometimes people like to prepare things with presentations. They want to make sure that things are all prepped. We did have that as a backup, but I wanted to stand out from the crowd. So the thing about this client is that we didn't have any work with them. And we actually had a stronghold that we're facing with a client that was, or our competitor rather. And as we're going through this process, we're basically trying to win them over. So as we're walking through this presentation, we kind of knew that we didn't have a great chance, but we definitely wanted to leave a great impression. So as we were doing this visual, we went in there and I was able to showcase these different aspects of the construction. So talking about proposed storm lines, demo, and electrical banks, and those electrical banks will be important for later, but just kind of talking about the scope of work, right? So we had to make sure that we're, driving the conversation with the things that were important to the client, and some of those things were site access. On the bottom of the screen, you can see an area that's kind of blank, but that's actually an entrance to an ER. So we had to talk through those hard discussions because they wanted that street opened. Obviously, that's the only entrance, so that's kind of a no-go. But we had to be open and honest about it, so that way we could, work through it, right? The next point of discussion here is talking through some construction challenges. You can see some of the piers. They're in the middle of the road right there, and you can see those electrical duct banks. That causes obvious problems, so we had to talk through different shoring methods. And right here, we're going through either full shoring, partial shoring, or just showing how doing grading or sloped grading is not going to work. Now here's a little video of basically me navigating throughout the live interview, kind of just showcasing the power of cmBuilder. And as we had this up on the screen, the entire panel, the entire board of the interview was just glued to the screen. So something to talk through here, you can see that those piers that I mentioned earlier are in the middle of the road, which for obvious reasons could cause some pretty drastic issues. This probably wouldn't be a problem if this was just an office building, but this is an operating room. So you can imagine, Dr. Bob is, operating on his client, and then an accident happens and, just dropped a scalpel. But that's besides the point. Honestly, that was kind of another challenge because the person that conceptualized this design was in the interview. So we kind of had to keep things a little more tactful whenever we were talking about the design. But anyways, now I kind of want to talk about something that is my pride and joy. Again, smaller scope, but kind of a big client. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Green Bay. And for those of you that are into football, the Packers are a big thing there. So go Pack, go if there's any Packer fans in here. All that to be said is that this project was some stadium improvements for their hydrotherapy pool area. And this project was unique for several reasons, but the main constraint that we're running into was that it was a 10-week deadline. So we had to turn this space over in 10 weeks. Now, that wouldn't be an issue like if it was a pretty small job, but the problem is that the pool areas were an 8-week duration. So if it was just the pool area that we're touching, sure, whatever, we'll get it done. But as you can see, there's MEP up there. We have soffits, we have ceilings that we have to install. Can't really make that all happen within 10 weeks. So superintendent called me. He was asking, hey, Nick, can we create a visual that's going to kind of tell the story of how we're going to approach this? We have hydromobiles that we use on every job for masonry, just erecting walls. So he had the idea of putting together 8 different hydromobiles and basically creating a workspace platform. So that way we had 2 workspaces at once. Now, I just described that to you. Everyone up here is looking at the visual to the left side of that platform, but trying to describe that and get buy-in from people is a lot more difficult. So he asked me if I could create a visual, so I was like, yep, I can do that. So I'm working through this live, and we're having working sessions, which I encourage all of you to do if you're working with your superintendents, and maybe they're not as tech-savvy. Feel free to just have 2 hours blocked out of your schedule and just work with them on cmBuilder. It's done a ton of great things for me and my clientele. So here's a little picture of the actual workspace. And the reason why this is important is the original plan was to have traditional scaffolding, but the problem with that is that takes time that we didn't have. And with this hydromobile, you get 8 guys or 8 workers, and you have them adjust the platform as needed. So you have them all the way up there to be able to work on the MEPs. You could see that's the superintendent right there. He's not short. That actually is how high the platform was, which is super nice because you're not lugging stuff up and down a ladder, and you're able to work with your hands, and it's not a safety issue. Anyways, so as we're talking through verification, we're able to identify the problem, the idea, we're able to visualize, verify, and sell it to the subcontractors, and then execute it. Here's another picture of just verification. You can see on the left side, that's what the model was showing, and on the right side, we actually have the studs going up right to that hydromobile. So I thought that was pretty incredible that we could see the visual ahead of time and see how close that actually conveyed that message. So same project. This is actually the pools themselves. One nice thing about this is that we were able to basically compile the model along with some other supplementary data that we had. And we're able to use that to create some pretty powerful visuals. So right here we have the to-be-built model, the new build, and then overlaid on that is the existing. The reason I mention this is because we had some scope issues. Again, tight deadline, so we had to make sure that we got all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted, right? So as we're working through this, we're looking through verification process, and we ran into some issues of things that were not in our scope. So to kind of explain this visual, we have some demo that was not in the original scope. I incorporated some scan data that we created, and then we had some pipe conflict also not in scope. Again, this might seem like really small, low-hanging fruit, but whenever you're talking about a 10-week deadline, that's a lot of time and a lot of money that we don't have, a lot of crews that we don't have. Plus, we have liquidated damages. If we don't get this done, we're paying big money to get it done. So what I was able to do with this is I was actually able to create some documentation. I was able to take some screenshots, some section cuts, and basically verify what we needed to get across to the architect, saying like, hey, you guys didn't have this, we don't have it in our budget, and we're able to send this off and have a real clear, concise visual that's telling the story like, hey, we need either extra money or extra manpower. So I think that was a really powerful use case of cmBuilder. And this is something that I wasn't planning on incorporating in this presentation, but I thought it was kind of neat. But the little things count. So I met with one of our self-perform group leads, and I showed him just some linkage. And basically what I mean by that is on cmBuilder, I actually linked to all of our typical deliverables that we're housing on Forma, and it basically creates that connection space back and forth between cmBuilder and Forma, our housing software. So basically, it's a little small on the screen, but on the upper left, you can see we have just like a for the field folder that has our planning model, our coordination model, it has our sequence and duration boards, it has our site logistics, but we also have that incorporated into cmBuilder, and these links are bidirectional. So we kind of have a baseline of what we're looking for as far as a deliverable with cmBuilder, and what I mean by that is that what you're seeing on the right side is what we try to do for every single project, so that way it's consistent across the board, and then we match the excitement level of whatever the project team needs. So just some food for thought, and hopefully it gave you guys some ideas for your own projects. It wasn't anything grandiose. You guys have a lot of really great presentations. So thanks for having me, and open up for questions.